So, J. Ruud, what lovable novel are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. A comic epic in prose.
Have I read it?
I do not think so.
Oh, okay. Plausible deniability. I don't know. Welcome to Between the Covers, where Merlin Mystery Series and Robin Hood Mystery Series author J. Ruud and I, Stacey Margaret Jones, author of Mr. Catherine, discuss one book from his list of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language each week. And I am currently trying to guess the topic of this week's episode. I'll need another hint, J. Ruud.
Okay, here is hint number 2. Squire Allworthy.
Well, I don't think it's Woodhouse, since we already
It is not.
had a Woodhouse.
No Woodhouse.
Okay, I need one more guess.
Hint number 3. Sophia Western.
Like Pilgrim's Progress or something?
Why no?
Oh, okay. That just showed my ignorance on several different levels all at once. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my degree granting institution where I got my English major.
Well,
what is the book?
the book is Henry Fielding's classic from the early days of the novel, Tom Jones, officially entitled The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling.
I have not read Tom Jones. I actually, when you were leading up to the big reveal, I had a faint kind of echo of a thought in my mind of a novel called Clarissa.
Oh, that's interesting because...
Did he write that?
No.
Oh, gosh.
His rival wrote that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
No.
I brought your nemesis
Mr.
into the chat.
Fielding.
Oh,
is the
Mr.
author.
Fielding. Sorry.
No, Samuel Richardson wrote Clarissa, and Fielding hated Richardson's novels. He was actually kind of inspired to write novels by reading Richardson and hating him. And so his first novel was called Shamala, which was a parody of Richardson's novel called Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded.
Wow, that's the level of petty I aspire to.
Yeah, and then his second novel, Joseph Andrews, was about the heroine of Shamala's brother, Joseph Andrews. And that's the novel in which Fielding has a preface where he called what he was writing a comic epic in prose.
Oh, okay.
He was writing kind of at the birth of the novel in English.
Yeah.
And it was Richardson or
also,
Fielding.
Yeah, so that's why Clarissa is in my mind, because that must really burn that, even in the afterlife, people are bringing up your nemesis when they're talking about your book.
Well,
anyway,
maybe.
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fielding hated the kind of bourgeois morality that Richardson advocated.
Espoused.
Yeah, and Tom Jones, who's kind of a picaresque character, engages in a number of sexually explicit exploits.
Oh, goodness.
As opposed to what was happening in Richardson's novels.
It was the antidote.
Where the woman was defending her chastity against all kinds of attacks upon it and ultimately being rewarded in the end for her chastity.
All right.
And this is really interesting because the most important critic of the 18th century, really the lion of his age in the later 18th century, which is named after him, Samuel Johnson, The Age of Johnson, is basically the second half of the 18th century. Johnson condemned the novel. In her memoirs, Hannah More, who was a poet and playwright in Johnson's circle, mentions that she once kind of flippantly alluded to a witty passage in Tom Jones, and Johnson replied, "I am shocked to hear you quote from so vicious a book. I'm sorry to hear that you have read it, a confession which no modest lady should ever make. I scarcely know a more corrupt work." And went on to heap praise upon Richardson in contrast.
Well, I guess we've skipped ahead to the who might not like this book section of the podcast.
Samuel Johnson and admirers of Samuel Richardson.
All right.
But to contrast, and this kind of leads into your next question, which is who else loves this book?
My first question.
You're right, you hadn't asked a question. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who is the most important literary critic of the Romantic period following the age of Johnson. He was of the opinion that, and I quote, in Fielding there is a cheerful, sunshiny, breezy spirit that prevails everywhere, strongly contrasted with the close, hot, daydreamy continuity of Richardson. And in his posthumous 1835 book, Specimens of the Table Talk of Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he's quoted as saying, "What a master of composition Fielding was. Upon my word, I think the Oedipus Tyrannus, the Alchemist, and Tom Jones, the three most perfect plots ever planned."
Oh, wow. All right.
So personally, I'm going with Coleridge. Other people might want to go with Johnson, but they're wrong.
All right. So who else likes this book besides Coleridge?
In addition to Coleridge.
And you.
And me.
Give us the highlights, okay?
Okay.
Because sometimes, I mean, this might be on a lot of lists.
It's on quite a few. Interesting, Somerset Maugham in 1848, the acclaimed author of things like The Razor's Edge and of Human Bondage. He made a list of what he thought were the 10 greatest novels in the world. And Tom Jones was on that list.
My goodness.
It's also on Entertainment Weekly's top 100 novels.
Ooh, Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah. It was 77th on their list. There's an interesting 2006 list of 100 life-changing books that was published by the National Book Awards, and it was books that were voted on by National Book Award winners.
Oh, my goodness.
And the list is 100 life-changing books, and Tom Jones is on that list. It's also on the Guardian's list of the 100 greatest novels in English, the Observer's list of the 100 greatest novels of all time, comes in as number 22 on the BBC's list of 100 greatest British novels. It must be admitted that Richardson's Clarissa is also on all three of those lists.
Sorry.
But, again, they're wrong.
Well, that's quite a list of lists.
That's a list.
So, can you give us the down and dirty summary, and can you earn the Harps of Triumph?
I'll do what I can. Here's my copy of the book. This is the Modern Library edition. It is 886 pages long, which means it's rather difficult to summarize in a short way. I have to say that this is a 900-page novel that when I got to the end of it, the first time I read it, I was actually disappointed that there wasn't more.
All right.
But it is hard to sum up the three great plots in the entire literary world.
We can talk more about that and why it's lovable. If instead of thinking of it as summarizing the novel, think of it as, what's the novel about? Like, you think of movie log lines, right, where they kind of say in one sentence what the movie's about, right?
Yeah.
So what is the book about?
The book is about Tom Jones, a foundling. Squire Allworthy has an estate which is actually called Paradise Hall. And one day he gets back from a journey he's taken, and he finds on his bed a baby.
Oh, goodness.
And there's some looking into this. It's found that a local servant named Jenny Jones admits that she is the one that put the baby on Squire Allworthy's bed, but she refuses to say who the father is.
That's a little different from the dogs we find on our bed.
It is different. So Allworthy raises Tom Jones as his own son.
Oh, okay.
And it's a 3-volume work. The first volume has to do with Tom growing up and maturing under Squire Allworthy's parentage, really. his falling in love with his neighbor, Sophia Western, and his being a rival with Allworthy's nephew, Blifil. At the end of the first volume, because of some false accusations by Blifil, Tom ends up being thrown out of Paradise, thrown out of Paradise Hall.
Oh, goodness.
And,
Paradise Lost.
Yes, and volume 2 is Tom on the road, and he has all these picaresque adventures. And volume 3 is Tom in London, where everyone else has actually come, and they all meet up in London, and the story has its denouement there.
Oh, okay. All right. So it is about Tom Jones, a foundling in a kind of English country home and that milieu.
It's in Somersetshire.
When was it published?
1749.
Okay, so, and you talked about already who else was writing novels and how it was really an early novel.
Yeah, Fielding knows that there were a few others, but the ones that kind of were most significant are Richardson and Fielding, and Defoe, who had written Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, okay.
And Moll Flanders earlier in the 18th century. And Fielding's conscious that what he is doing is creating a new genre, basically.
It's so, that really blows my mind that novels haven't been present as long as the written word, because it's such a thing I think people crave. I mean, obviously not everybody likes to read fiction, but it's such a fundamental part of being human is extended story about another human's life, right?
Yeah.
So before it, did we have like short stories and fables and or oral traditions?
Yeah,
obviously.
certainly oral traditions, but most long narratives were written in poetry.
Okay, so it basically was, okay, I'm going to do this long narrative, but it's not going to rhyme.
Yeah, and his introduction to Joseph Andrews, Fielding talks about this being a comic epic in prose.
Right.
And
that was my hint.
He takes kind of as his prototype Don Quixote.
Ah, okay.
For him, that's the first real novel, and he feels like he's in that tradition,
sure,
as opposed to Richardson, who's in this silly tradition.
So I noticed we haven't had an episode on Clarissa yet.
Don't expect one.
What makes Tom Jones so lovable that it's on your list?
Well, it's hilarious, for one thing.
Does the humor still humor?
I think it's as fresh today as
awesome.
As it was in 1749.
Well, that is a feat.
The characters are hilarious, and it's very satirical.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of skewers the class structure. And the implications of the class structure and the preconceptions of the class structure in 18th century England, which was pretty structured. Much more than it was even in the 19th century. We talked a little about it with Wuthering Heights last time.
And Jane Eyre.
Yeah, but this is, you've got Squire Western and Squire Allworthy, and Squire Allworthy is planning on marrying his nephew Blifil to...
it sounds like Woodhouse.
Well,
I guess Woodhouse sounds like
certainly
Fielding.
Fielding is probably the person that ultimately, if you trace the lineage of Woodhouse back as far as you can, it goes to Fielding and then to Cervantes, I suppose.
Are these characters, are they nobility?
Well,
because that title is I'm not that familiar.
They're country gentry. Okay. So they don't have titles, but they own huge tracts of land.
They occupy an upper tier in country life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
because they're owners.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have a lot of people dependent upon them, and they have a lot of servants. Tom Jones wants to marry Sophia, and Sophia, she's in love with Tom Jones too. Tom has some problems in that he tends to end up in bed with a lot of women.
Well, you said it's picaresque.
Yeah.
Is that part of the picaresqueness that is kind of the episodes of his romances?
Yeah. I mean, the Picaro is a kind of wandering hero who's like only as good as he needs to be, I guess, and who gets in little scrapes, maybe kind of a trickster.
Yeah.
Tom Jones is actually incredibly moral, although the prevailing opinion of everybody in his immediate vicinity at Squire Allworthy's house is that he was born to be hanged. But, mostly people have this prejudice against him because he's a bastard. And everybody knows he's a bastard. And he's kind of put up with by people because they believe that Squire Allworthy is his father.
Oh.
Why else would he be taking care of him if he were his own son? Squire Allworthy is not his father, and actually that's pretty clear.
Okay.
But all these people seem to believe that he is.
Why is his name Tom Jones?
Because Jenny Jones, the servant girl that says she put him
there,
in the squire's bed, is believed to be his mother.
Ah, okay.
And everybody thinks she's his mother, although she never actually says, I'm his mother. She says, I put him in that bed.
Okay.
This causes a real problem later in the novel when Tom is found in bed with Mrs. Waters, who turns out to be Jenny Jones, a little older.
Goodness.
But we won't get too much into that.
No, we don't want any spoilers on this 18th century novel that you might read.
Spoilers. But actually, Tom never does anything vicious. He does things that are kind of risque. He's having sex with this kind of peasant girl named Molly, and she gets pregnant, and he believes he's the father and is going to do the right thing and marry her until he finds that one of his tutors, Mr. Square, is in bed with her. And then he just laughs and says, I guess I'll have to marry you now. But he admits very frankly, I have been guilty with women, I own it, but I am not conscious that I have ever injured any, nor would I, to procure pleasure to myself, be knowingly the cause of misery to any human being. And that's pretty much
kind of how he rolls.
How he rolls, yeah. People are always taking advantage of him, and they're always these supposedly better people, these nobles, like the Bliffles of the world, do all these terrible things, but they justify it by bourgeois morality.
Right. Well, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
When I think of a picaresque novel, I also think of one that's episodic.
Yeah.
Is it?
The central part is pretty episodic. There's a lot of things that happen in Volume 2 that don't seem to be connected to other parts of the plot.
Because I was going to ask you what drives it forward. I mean, what is it that we want to find out? Who his father is, or who his parents are?
Well,
or
he believes he knows who his father is because, as with Jenny Jones, everybody says this person must have been his father. But that's not what he's trying for. What he wants to do really is marry Sophie. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen once he gets thrown out.
Right.
Allworthy basically disowns him. And one of the reasons he disowns him is he gets on the bad side of Squire Western, who's Sophia's father and their neighbor, by wanting to marry his daughter. Western is not going to have this vagabond
Foundling
bastard marry his daughter.
Right.
But Bliffle is going to inherit Allworthy's estate, so he wants her to marry Bliffle, who is a terrible, terrible person. But he's the one that has sort of fooled Allworthy into thinking he's the better person. They have two tutors when they're growing up, Bliffle and Tom. The squire hires Thwackum. Thwackum is giving them their religious education.
Oh, okay.
And then Square is a philosopher.
Right.
Who's the one that Jones finds in bed with Molly. Both of them think that Jones is born to be hanged, and that he's always doing something wrong, something terrible. But they think Blifil is just a great guy. I read you what Tom says about his dealings with women.
Right.
Blifil wants to marry Sophie, but he wants to marry Sophie because she's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's ultimately going to inherit both the Westerns estate and Allworthy's estate.
He's creating an empire.
Yeah. And Blifil was so desirous of the match that he intended to deceive Sophia by pretending to love her, and to deceive her father and his own uncle by pretending he was beloved by her. In doing this, he availed himself of the piety of Thwackum, who held that if the end proposed was religious, as surely matrimony is, it mattered not how wicked were the means. And as to other occasions, he used to apply the philosophy of square, which taught that the end was immaterial, so that the means were fair and consistent with moral rectitude. And so he uses what he's learned to make excuses for his evil intents.
That's really interesting because that reminds me of The Sopranos, because toward the end of the series, Tony Soprano's therapist, Jennifer Melfi, is struggling with research that's come out that psychotherapy only arms the malignant narcissist with tools to manipulate and fool other people. They learn in therapy how to act as if they are fully human, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like it goes all the way back to Tom Jones.
That's exactly what happens with Blifil. He uses everything he's learned to manipulate other people.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Not really.
How funny.
Yeah. Blifil's a more humorous character than Tony, I think, though.
I don't know. Tony can be funny.
He can be.
Well, that is, as you know, one of my favorite shows to rewatch, and maybe because it reflects back to us so many archetypes of character and moral development and an inner look at a dark psyche.
Yeah, but I said that the second volume is episodic, and
Yes.
you go from one thing to another. The thing is, and I think the reason that Coleridge called this one of the three greatest plots ever devised, is that these things that seem like they're episodic in volume 2 turn out to be, in some ways, a thread that's important to untangle everything in the end. Some character from 600 pages earlier shows up, and you realize that what happened there has a bearing on what the end is going to be.
So they're opening little loops, and they're going to be closed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not all of them.
But
a lot of them.
Some of them are just fake outs. You think this is important, but it's just enjoyable. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think the episodes are all enjoyable, whether they are...
They are pretty enjoyable.
I mean, do they read as like, oh my God, why am I reading about this?
No, they're
like the whale blubber. In Moby Dick.
The whale blubber.
I'll never let you forget that. That is why I am not going to read Moby Dick.
Oh, it's your loss. But no, none of them are boring.
Mm-hmm.
There is one pretty long episode where they meet the man of the mountain, Jones, and his traveling companion, Partridge, who actually is the person that people have believed is his father, but tells him, I had nothing to do with you. I'm not your father. Because he had hung around with Jenny Jones at one point. Mm-hmm. It's cold. They're on a mountain. They come across a house that's by itself. And they asked to be let in and to be warmed by the fire for a while. And there's a woman there and says that the master's not home, but she'll let them do that. And then the master comes home, and some people outside are going to rob him. And Jones and Partridge, mainly Jones, because Partridge is kind of a coward. but Jones chases them off and saves the guy's life. And he goes on to tell him the story of his life. Mm-hmm. And it goes on for a while. There is a similar kind of scene in Don Quixote where this character comes in and tells a whole kind of separate story within the story about his own life. So that happens.
Okay. Well, what do you think is... I mean, we've talked about some of the enjoyable aspects of it and the humor you said. What do you think is the reason that you have so much affection for the novel?
Well, there's some personal things. This book was the one I bought for my Brit Lit 1 class. It was second semester of my freshman year in college. And Brit Lit 1, as it was taught then, and maybe still is in some places, was English literature from the Old English period, basically from Beowulf, through the end of the 18th century.
That's a long time.
That's, basically that's 1,000 years of literature.
Right.
Because, of course, to talk about literature from the 19th and 20th centuries, you had to have a separate semester to cover those 200 years.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anyway, by the time we got to the end of the semester, the instructor said, read Tom Jones for the final.
Ooh.
And, okay, you have a 900-page book. You have 2 days before your final.
Oh, my gosh.
I did not read it.
Wow.
I quickly kind of looked up a plot summary, and I don't think there was any questions about Tom Jones. I mean, I think you could have brought it in some essays or something. Anyway, I felt bad about not reading the book. And I really actually was interested in seeing what it was like. So after the semester was over, I sat down and read the book. And I was so taken by it that I wished we had read it and studied
And
it.
talked about it.
And talked about it, yeah. That's one of the reasons. Another thing, of course, is it really is a hilarious book. And it's there's just a lot of charm to Tom Jones himself. And he goes through all these difficulties and before he can find. I mean, you can guess by the end. Yes, he is going to marry Sophia because it's a comedy.
Right.
So you know that's going to happen.
Right.
Really.
And is it a comedy in the kind of classical sense that there's a new order?
You might say that because Tom is at least placed in a new order.
Okay.
By being
Right.
He is the new society.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
And some characters are sort of cast out, including Blifil.
Good. Do you find that the characters are well developed and like real people?
Yeah.
Okay. He's really creating dimensional characters.
Tom Jones is warts and all.
Yeah.
And so is Squire Western.
Okay.
And even Squire Allworthy is maybe, he's all-worthy. And he only makes this mistake of casting Jones out of paradise because the devil made him do it. I mean, there is a kind of Garden of Eden thing going on in the first
there's some
volume.
structure there.
Blifil is basically Satan,
right?
Or the serpent anyway,
right?
Who causes the downfall of Jones. And Partridge is well developed. Thwackum and Square, in a way, they're kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Some of them are.
Some of the characters have jobs to do, and they do them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But there's a lot of pages there, and you got to fill them with something about the characters, and so there's a lot of development of the characters.
All right.
But another thing that's one of the most interesting things about the novel is the narration.
Whose perspective? Is it first person or?
No.
Is it limited?
There is an author who is the narrator. So I said the book was divided into 3 volumes.
Yeah.
Each volume is divided into 6 books. Each book is divided into between 10 and 15 chapters.
Okay.
So at the beginning of every book, the first chapter is basically an essay by the narrator talking to you about something.
Oh, interesting.
About what he's doing here, about why he's doing it, about why
It's meta.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
About why the critics are stupid, and he expects them to say this, but that's because they don't understand. Every book begins with a direct address to the reader from the author.
I did not expect that.
And in a way, it's very different from a contemporary novel, but the narrator really becomes a character.
Sure.
So his opinions are pretty funny, and his satire of other people, other writers, and the critics and things like that are pretty funny.
It sounds like Fielding couldn't use this structure unless he had invented a persona for the narrator.
Yeah,
even if that persona is kind of
pretty
oblique.
close to himself.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah.
it exists.
Yeah.
Right. That's really fascinating. I did not expect that.
And some of the things that the narrator says are just hilarious. At one point, kind of early on in one of these opening chapters, the narrator says, "Reader, I think proper, before we proceed any further together, to acquaint thee that I intend to digress through the whole history, as often as I see occasion, of which I am myself a better judge than any pitiful critic whatever, and here I must desire all these critics to mind their own business, and not to intermeddle with affairs or works which no ways concern them. For till they produce the authority by which they are constituted judges, I shall not plead to their jurisdiction."
How many writers have used that as the head note for their, or wanted to?
I bet a lot of them wanted to.
That's awesome.
How can such brashness not be entertaining?
All right.
And then he'll poke fun at elaborate metaphorical descriptions that other authors may like to use. Like there's one description where he says, "An hour at which, as it was now midwinter, the dirty fingers of night would have drawn her sable curtain over the universe, had not the moon forbid her, who now, with a face as broad and as red as those of some jolly mortals, who, like her, turn night into day, began to rise from her bed, where she had slumbered away the day in order to sit up all night." So the moon has a face like these drunken people at a bar who slumbered all day. And
that's so funny.
Sometimes just he satirizes elaborate ways of saying simple things that you find in some writers.
Right.
12 times did the iron register of time beat on the sonorous bell metal, summoning the ghosts to rise and walk their nightly round. In plainer language, it was 12 o'clock.
That's hilarious.
Or are a lot of writers that were contemporary with him who like to cite authorities, great authorities of the past.
Right.
And he says, "It is, I think, the opinion of Aristotle, or if not, it is the opinion of some wise man whose authority will be as weighty when it is as old." So, yeah.
Just an enjoyable read.
It's a very enjoyable
So
read
it sounds
all
like
around.
if you're going to read this, you need to not be hurtling toward the end, but taking time to realize that when he is satirizing things and when he is tongue in cheek and when he is
most
kind
of
of
the time
laughing.
he is tongue in cheek.
That he's not like, look at my beautiful prose. He's like, laugh at this kind of prose.
Yeah.
Enjoy it with me. All right. That like yesterday.
This is something that Richardson might have said.
Yesterday in my text chain with my brothers, my brother sent me a video of a guy showing how he could navigate on a hike, and it was all just gibberish. I think the caption was Eagle Scout on a hike or something, and then it was all this gibberish. So then for like, I don't know, a couple hours, we were just sending each other gibberish, right? And it's kind of in that vein, like, let's make fun of this. Let's make fun of people talking like this by talking like this. And the creative fun of that is like, what words can I make up that kind of sound like this, right? So we were having fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a fundamental human instinct. So, all right.
And Fielding appeals to that fundamental human instinct.
So why might somebody not like this? We already talked about.
They might not like the Richardsons and the Samuel Johnsons of the world might not like the acceptance of this kind of loose morality. Sophia Weston doesn't accept it very well. But, I mean, you have to realize, and I think she has to realize, that there was no possibility she was ever going to marry him as far as he was concerned. That's what he was led to believe. when he started on these picaresque adventures. So if he, had some things to do with other women,
So
it wasn't that he was being unfaithful to her.
Right. Now it seems like you're talking about why fictional characters might not like this book.
Well, Richardson and Johnson were not fictional characters.
Right, exactly. So I saw an ad for a game on my phone the other day, and it was like showing different historical figures' IQs. And they showed Mona Lisa IQ. And I was like, a friend?
Well,
was she a person?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
I think of her name, but
right. Okay. Well, it said Mona Lisa and then her IQ, and I was like, how do you know what her IQ?
Yeah. How did you figure that out?
Anyway, it was weird.
Must have been the kind of coy smile.
I guess so.
It was kind of a knowing smile.
It was not a quality ad, but anyway. What about the length and the structure?
Yeah, the length, I think, will be a turnoff to people, but I would say give it a start and see what you think.
If you enjoy it, you'll be sad when it's over.
Yeah.
That's how I felt at the end of Middlemarch. I was like, oh, there's not more?
Yeah.
Where's the second book? Where's the sequel?
Yeah.
All right.
The book really has been popular since its publication, except there were some people who thought it was, like Johnson, who thought it was an immoral book. That has mostly gone away.
Is that where the singer got his name from that book?
I don't think so. I think his actual name is Tom Jones.
Oh, okay.
But or it's probably Thomas Jones.
Whatever.
But he calls himself Tom Jones because that would
Right.
remind people of the book, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, I don't know. But it was popular. Even by 1765, there had been an opera
Oh, my goodness.
that was performed. And since then, there have been 3 more operas.
That's how you know you've arrived. There's an opera.
You got 4 operas. And there have been other stage productions, both musical and straight. There have been 2 BBC miniseries. There have been 2 film versions, one of which was a musical. But of all of them, the 1963 adaptation.
Film adaptation.
Film adaptation, yeah. Directed by Tony Richardson. Won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture in 1963.
Okay.
And starred a very young Albert Finney.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Who, in his youth, was quite a handsome fellow.
Yeah, well.
Which, that's one thing about Tom in the book. Everybody thinks all the women in the book think he's an incredibly handsome fellow.
Guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what number is this on your list? So we're building the list as we go. I'm making you rank, Ben.
Yes.
So where does it fall?
I am going to put this at number 9.
Oh, my goodness. Maybe I will have to. Well, wait. Do you remember where Moby Dick is?
Not right offhand.
It's not above it, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I might have to read it.
It comes right after Middlemarch.
Oh,
and right
so
before Age of Innocence.
Well, maybe I will have to read it. If you think it's better than Age of Innocence, which is a perfect thing.
I know. You may not think so, but I'm putting it up there.
That's
because
very interesting.
Because of its incredible influence
Yeah, sure.
on the tradition of the novel. And
sure.
just for entertainment value.
Sure.
I mean, that 63 movie is very entertaining if you want to watch it, but it does take 18 books and condenses them into 2 hours.
Yeah,
so
it's a translation.
So it gives you a taste of what the book is, what the novel is like. But the spirit of it is closer to the novel than anything else.
All right.
So
good to know.
All right, then. I think then it's probably time for Chaos Reader.
All right. Well, I am still reading Sinead O'Connor Rememberings. So I just thought I'd check in on that, and I'm still really enjoying it. I actually told my mom to read it, even though some of it's a little, her behavior's, not like my mom's. She's a little iconoclastic. However,
So maybe she'd like Tom Jones?
Maybe she would.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Actually, I think she might like this more. I think the reason I told my mom to get it and read it is my mother, who is almost 100, is working on her memoirs.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a really brilliant structure because it's very episodic. But the episodes do build. Like, they're not in random order, okay? So she's kind of choosing an episode that illustrates a period of her life. Then she's choosing an episode that illustrates a period of her life. So it's a really good example, I think, of, biographical or memoir storytelling without all that kind of heavy lifting or exposition. And then, for 2 months I was here, and then she just drops in, right? Okay, in London I was renting a house. Like, how'd you get to London? Why are you there? Don't care, right? I'm just going to...
Not important for the story.
Not important. The book is called Rememberings. And we're going to get these episodes. I have gotten to where she tore up the picture of the Pope. And that was really interesting. And how when she came off stage afterwards, nobody would look at her. And a lot of people cleared off backstage. They didn't want anything to do with her. Whoa. And she knew, in rehearsal, she had held up a picture of a starving child and said, "Feed the children." So it was a trick, right? Because Saturday Night is live. Yeah. So when the time came, she sang a cappella version of Bob Marley's War. And her voice, just nobody can sing. Her voice is so beautiful and has such a unusual timbre and beauty, haunting, really. And she sang that song, and then she held up a picture of the Pope and said... something like "Fight the real enemies." And what this book shows is that before she did that, she had been in New York hanging out with a lot of Rasta people in these kind of Caribbean ethnic areas of New York City, eating with them, talking, hanging out with them. And that was, they're talking about their Christianity. She was raised Catholic, of course, in Ireland, with a lot of the constraints and the judgment and the shame of that, and talking to these people about their faith and their religious belief and who is the enemy, and of course the oppression of black people. And she's coming from this history of oppression of Irish people by the British. And so you could see, if you're just sitting in your living room watching her do that, it feels like it's, you can kind of guess the context because she's Irish, right? And she's tearing up a picture of the Pope. But the memoir shows you that it isn't just your kind of gloss over it from your distance. It's that, art converses with art, right? She's been hanging out with these people who have been talking with her and kind of lighting up her mind about their own struggles and the art that comes from their struggles. And then she sings a Bob Marley song and says this thing about fighting the real enemy, which was something they had talked a lot about with her. So it gives so much more background or specific background to the event that I think a lot of people, when they think of Sinead O'Connor, think of that moment.
That is probably
definitely pivotal.
Yeah.
And changed her life. And I guess you could say she was very punk because she did not care. I saw in an interview, because I looked it up, and I saw in an interview that she did where she said, "I'm not an ignorant person. I knew there would be consequences for it." She didn't fight the consequences. She didn't feel like she didn't deserve the things that happened to her. And she had a career. She did a lot more live shows and things like that. And she kept traveling and, singing for people. But she knew there would be consequences, and she accepted them because she felt like it was important to tell people that this kind of oppression is wrong and to wake up. So, as you can tell, really enjoying this book. Yeah. I'm pretty close to finishing it, but it's just, I think it's also, if you want to write a memoir, you might want to pick up a copy because it is a really good structure for memoir. I don't think it's easy because I think it's easy to read, but I think if you're writing a memoir like this, you're going to have to make a lot of choices about what episode you're going to put in, and what you're going to skip. And I think it's hard for us when we're telling our own stories to skip details. But when you choose the right incident to drop people, or the right place to drop people into your life, you don't have to share all that structure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an interesting read as a writer, too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that idea of art conversing with art
yeah,
fits right into Tom Jones.
Yeah.
Fielding's conversing with Richardson.
yeah,
And also with Cervantes.
right. And with one in a, like, I love what you're doing and I'm going to continue this,
Yeah.
and the other is, stop doing what you're doing.
You're reading
You're
the
wrecking
novel
this.
in the wrong direction.
Exactly. You're ruining it for all of us. Let me make fun of you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be hard to find any great artist who isn't conversing with somebody else's work.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're all taking it in, especially now where you can access almost anything on your computer 24/7. So we're all taking it in all the time, and the things that light our minds up are the things that help us think of something new, we want to say. So anyway, highly
Good then.
good then. Well, we want to thank our podcast sensei and cover art maker, Jerry Bruno, and our listeners around the world.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time. If you like, share, comment, post, review, etc., then we will be able to see you next time on Between the Covers.